World Cup quarterfinals getting underway this afternoon as France will take on Morocco. That game starts up at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, to hockey, the Anaheim Ducks matching the offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, preventing the Philadelphia Flyers from acquiring the 21-year-old center. Carlson's cap hit for Anaheim now, $18.5 million for the next 5 years. Anaheim would have received 4 first-round picks if they declined to match the offer sheet, but alas, Carlsson remains a Duck. To baseball, MLB games on the docket today. The Braves and Pirates 6-4 for Atlanta, as that's in the top of the 6th with a rain delay. Mets up 6-3 on the Royals in the 7th. The Yankees up 7-3 on the Rays in the bottom of the 5th. Meanwhile, the Guardians and Twins tied 1 run apiece in the bottom of the 5th inning. This update's brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I clicked 4 things to buy a drink, and now I have to be polled on my ordering experience? How dare you? 1 to 5 stars. I don't know, 2. I guess nobody rubbed my feet.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Sounds like it went seamlessly.
That's between me and you, and me.
Yeah.
I'm not telling them how my ordering experience was. I'm losing my mind. That's basically the bottom line here. I'm losing my mind. Anyway.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Good day, everyone. How we doing out there? I'm the Bulldog. Nate Geary is here. What is up? What are those headphones?
They're Derek's.
Sorry, I just...
Were you not ready for them?
I was not ready.
Are they big?
They're big. They're NBA player on an airplane. Headphones. I think is what I'm seeing. I don't know. They're very. Hang on. Derek is. They what? My phone's ringing. I'm on the radio.
See, I feel like maybe it's because his head is big enough where these aren't like dramatic.
Yeah, no, they'd look stupid on him too.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost sure of it. I just no, they're very stylish. They are.
They're stylish.
Here I am thinking you're calling in my fashion sense.
No,
and,
they're very.
I don't have one, but
they're flashy in like I'm wearing a $3,000 suit to my basketball game kind of way, or hockey game, whatever.
Cool. The padding on the right ear is falling off. Have fun, Nate.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, I didn't. I knew you were sort of.
I'm between headphones right now. I'm between headphones. You know. Listen, as you know, I'm a part-timer here. It's been a while since I was on air. On Tuesday when I was with you, Brad Ryder was nice enough to leave me his headphones, and then I just went in there and decided instead of burdening Brad with another day of me using his headphones, I was going to burden Derek.
Right.
They didn't elicit a response from Brad's. These really got you going, though, so I'm glad. It's Thursday.
Well, Brad's just looked like, like normal, I work in a, AM radio station headphones. Like utilitarian.
These are clearly FM radio.
It's a statement.
This is satellite radio
It's
headphones.
It's a lifestyle. Those headphones are. Right, I don't know. Should I do the thing where you take a picture of somebody and put it on social media for everybody who's not watching here? Look at me and smile. I'm going to put this up for. Yeah. Okay. Well, hang on. Let me get a little bit. Yeah. There we go. Wow. Your head is huge.
Is it my head huge, or are you on 3x Zoom?
No, I zoomed. I gotta wait till the break because I can't possibly do that and start this show in a professional manner.
Sure, Mr. Professionalism, you are.
That's already shot to hell. Anyway, you're in luck. You're here. It's nice that you're here. I love when you're here. You know that. And I spent a good part of yesterday talking about open practices and PSL holders being aggrieved. And so I don't really feel like we have to do it. It has somehow managed to, I think, maybe dominate the day here.
A little bit.
In part because my kid yelled at a guy, which, it's very tough for me now to be living in his shadow. I got to tell you, I'm not entirely comfortable with that, but, whatever. That's how it goes sometimes. And so anyway, I'm willing, if our audience wants to cooperate, to just sort of leave that over there.
Sure.
Because I feel like the field has been plowed. Right? I mean, what more is there to do with it? So,
Yeah, I don't need it.
yeah. I wanted to pick up on a conversation that I had yesterday with Sal. Sal was in for a couple of hours with me, and we had his podcast partner and News Channel 7 sports director Matt Beauvais on with us for a segment. And during that segment, we're talking about the Bills, talking about the AFC, and it just kind of dawned on me that, and this has been apparent for a while, but it was just one of these things that in a conversation, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess it's different. I don't know. You maybe can help me decide how different. But for really the entirety of Allen and the Bills' ascendance, like I would say starting with the 2020 season. 19 they were good, and Allen looked promising, but 20's the year they became a Super Bowl contender, right? I think we can all agree on that. And so that's where my line of demarcation is. And since then, it's been the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens mostly. The Ravens have had a couple of weird years mixed in there. But there's been a tier every offseason. It's, okay, well, the best teams are those three. And, Cincinnati takes a turn. And, like, Miami had a hot minute when they scored 70 points on Denver, right? And they were ahead of the Bills for a little while. They were ahead of the Bills for quite a while, actually. The Bills needed to beat them at the end of that season. I don't remember which one of the 6 seasons
Punt return, baby.
Yeah, they needed
remember that one.
Other teams have sort of, come and gone. But for, I think, 6 years, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens has been even in years where the Ravens were coming off of, like, Lamar was injured or they just had a weird year. Not that that's happened a bunch of times, but they've had a couple of weird ones. They're right back at the top anyway because, Jackson's healthy. The roster's great. And I feel like for a variety of reasons, some having to do with the 3 teams that have been at the top, sort of, I don't know, there's changes, significant changes, really with all 3, if you want to count Mahomes recovering from a torn ACL as it's at least a development, if not a change. But new coach in Baltimore, new coach here, and here's Jacksonville, and here are the Chargers, and the Bengals might be back.
Denver.
And Denver, of course, they should be at the top, and New England. And I feel like it's a lot harder to put a hoop around I know the betting markets will do it, but like from my perspective, without thinking about what the odds are, I think it's harder to set the tiers. I feel like the top teams have maybe slipped, or whether they slipped or not, there's reason to wonder if they'll maintain their level or they're going to just automatically win 12 or 13 games. And all these other guys are sort of like, they're like, New England could be ready to blast off. The Chargers might be ready to blast off. If they're ever going to blast off,
it's
got to be now,
yep.
Right? And Denver. So it's just like it's a lot muddier, I think, than it's been since the Bills arrived at contender status. I think it's a lot harder to separate them from 6 or 7 teams instead of just 2 or 3.
Funny enough, I think you put together exactly why the Bills fired Sean McDermott. Because, how many times in the last 7 years, 7 years, we said, man, what an opportunity squandered. Well, the opportunity squandered last year was no Mahomes, no Allen, or no
Lamar, no
Burrow. And, so, yeah, a little bit of – I think we've known this for a little while now, which is the AFC is dominated by the league's best quarterbacks. The NFC right now, other than Stafford, who won the MVP last year, he's on his second to last season, something along those lines. And Jalen Hurts, I don't know, I'm not really willing to have that conversation about where he sits in the hierarchy. But, there are very few quarterbacks on the NFC side of the aisle. They're really dominated by the best defenses in the league other than the Texans, right? But I don't know. You look at the AFC, I agree. It's probably 10 or 11 deep. In terms of teams that can at least push to be playoff teams. It also, to me, features some of the worst teams in the Jets, but I think the Dolphins right now are looking as like maybe the worst team we've seen in a long time. The Bills are in a spot this year where they're going to have the most difficult schedule I think they've had since Josh Allen's been the starting quarterback. I think there's probably the most unknown they've had in terms of what their floor is and what the defensive side of the ball is going to look like. 'Cause we just, with McDermott, the predictability of what they were going to do in defense, we knew what they were going to do. Opposing offensive coordinators knew what they were going to do. Everybody knew what the Bills were going to do when Sean McDermott was calling the defense, whether he was calling it directly or indirectly through Bobby Babich, who's another, it's a McDermott disciple. I think we can all sit here today on July 9th and say the AFC, the schedule, but I think, you can get caught up in a lot of that too, because I think every year we say, wow, the schedule's hard, because the Bills have been playing a first-place schedule for the better part of half a decade. So they're all hard. They're all difficult schedules. But I also think you do this exercise, there isn't room in the AFC West for everybody to be good. If the Raiders are going to take a step forward, which I would think and maybe argue they will, I mean, again, that's the conversation I feel like we have every. The Raiders will be sure.
I wonder if there will ever be a good team that lives in Las Vegas, Nevada.
The AFC has a bunch of these young quarterbacks on the cusp that have not done it when it matters. Justin Herbert, to me, is the guy that stands out the most because he is often crowned as the fourth quarterback behind Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow. Right, wrong, and different. And then Trevor Lawrence has their first place, second seed, number 2 seed in the playoffs this year for Jacksonville, only to throw the game-losing interception with a chance to go down and win a game. I think there are some questions about whether these young ones can do the job and get over the hump. And the question will be, I think we talked about this on Tuesday with the Bengals. If not now, when for the Bengals? Because they decided we're done doing the thing where we have to score 60 points to stay in football games. They went and got, I don't know, maybe not the best interior defensive lineman in football, but right up there.
Real good one.
Right up there.
Yeah. I feel like that's been largely ignored in the Bengals defense's terrible narrative.
Would agree. They went out, and Al Golden, who was the architect of last year's, 32nd ranked defense, is a very good defensive coordinator. So they have the scheme, the coach. They now have a couple of linchpins inside. They've spent first-round picks on defense. If not now, it's going to be a when thing for the Bengals. And I don't know. I'm not convinced the Ravens are. I think the Ravens are who they were last year. Now, I think that's who they are. They're an aging roster, much like I think some of the other AFC teams. I think the Bills have been trying to infuse youth wherever they can. All of this to say, if the Bills are 10% better on offense than they were last year, it would be hard not to be a little better on defense. No? Would we agree?
I think the baseline. I know last year was a wonky year for it.
Yeah.
But my biggest hang up on just assuming the Bills are going to roll out of bed and win 11 or 12 games is that the defense, when I hear, oh, this guy's dropping weight like 25 pounds, and we got this guy putting 25 pounds on because we got different roles in mind for them, I'm just like, well, okay, I don't know. Do you really have the dudes you need or want for what you want to do?
Yeah.
I think the defense, my best case scenario for the defense is that there is some of that, but they hopefully survive the brutal start to their season, and by the time the playoffs come around, they've won their 11 games and they're in, and the defense has sort of taken shape. Leonard figures out who he wants where and who can do what and when and all that, and that they get some answers that really I think it's very hard to have until they play a meaningful football game.
I'd agree. I would agree with that. I also think, though, that there is a best-case scenario that I think is not totally like a far-fetched idea for this defense, which is that they have the best secondary they've had since this third year of McDermott, where you've got,
any time where Tre'Davious White was healthy and Benford was a hotshot rookie and you still had Hyde and Poyer.
Yes, in prime.
And Taron Johnson.
I think they've got the best safety duo they've had since prime, Poyer and Hyde, which is what had largely made the McDermott defenses go. I don't know that it will necessarily be the thing that makes a Jim Leonard defense go, but I think there is somewhat a lot riding on Max Harrison's year 2. I think there was flashes in year 1. The concerns about him being small and injury prone, they They showed up. But I think, Benford continually, I think I just saw an article this week that came out about the top 10 corners in football. He's not even honorable mention. No one's even acknowledging. And I don't know, maybe it's just a bias because we think he's a really good player, and he has been very good since the team drafted him and subsequently re-signed him a season and or off season ago. But I don't know. I look at the secondary and I say, if you're looking at a strength of this defense, I'm looking square into the secondary, and that goes in acknowledging that the linchpins of that secondary are all gone. No Taron Johnson,
that's right.
Tre'Davious White, in and out, but and obviously both safeties. Jordan Poyer's not walked through the door again for the third time.
And I don't know if they're worried about Hairston, but I've said this to Sal. I would not be surprised if Igbenison beats Hairston out. Maybe even right away. I think, he's got the length that they want. He's a different style player. All those sound like code words to me to that's not our guy. So we'll see. I might be rushed. Sal always tells me I'm rushing that. He's like, well, later in the year, maybe I could see it if Harrison doesn't perform. And I'm not arguing. He's going in to the summer with that's his job.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. My eyes are wide open to the IGB beating him out. So that might not even be a problem spot for them. They've got more depth there now with the draft pick.
High end depth. Yeah. High end depth.
Right. Maybe starter caliber depth, which is, a luxurious thing to have.
I'm still super interested in why they're as confident as they seemingly are about linebacker. I just don't know what they have at linebacker. I mean, I know Terrell Bernard is a captain on this team, and he has flashed in moments, but he hasn't been healthy. The injury last year concerned me in that it slowed him down considerably, and what he was kind of good for was his foot speed, and I hope that's not a long-term consequence of the I think continued injuries to his lower body. Dorian Williams was in crutches up until 2 weeks ago. And I like Elarm Zor, but he hasn't taken a snap with pads on in the NFL yet. So there's a lot of people very quick to say, well, he's going to be your day one starter. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel a little weird that a fourth round pick is your day one starter. To me screams, I don't think I have a very good group if a fourth-round pick is starting right away.
I feel that.
Linebacker. I think they're going to be largely what they've been up front for the past 5 seasons, which is young and experienced and leaning on someone to step up.
Someone to step up. I was talking about this, I don't think it was on the show. It was on Pat Moran's podcast. I think I mentioned this. I could see them generating more pressure than they have in past years, but still not having a guy that breaks through and has 12 or 15 sacks or anything. I don't think that guy exists on the roster. I think Chubb will pitch in, the rookie will pitch in. Maybe Rousseau is freed up because he's playing a more of an actual edge.
Rousseau's the one guy out of that whole group that I think, I don't know how much his production as a pass rusher has been stymied by what his role was in Sean McDermott's defense.
Right.
Which was stay at home, edge setting, run defender. Sometimes he's going to get the scramble rules sack. He was never really the guy that beats you around the edge, but he also wasn't the guy that was freed up to do it.
Right.
So to me, he is, I think it's, Chubb's right there behind him, but there is Rousseau, Gap, Chubb to who are the dogs on this defensive line, or whatever you want to call it, in this pass rush group. To me, it's Rousseau and then a pretty big gap.
Yeah. So I'm the best thing I think about the defense is that there will be more pass pressure schematically. Again, I don't know if that means I'm going to get somebody that's just killing it. And I don't even know if that'll result in more sacks. I mean, ideally it would, but pressure is the name of the game. Just get the guy off his spot, try to mess him up, that kind of thing. Well, the lay of the land there, and there being that many teams to me in the pool, where we started with, it's not just these top 3 anymore. It's more it's deeper. leads me to the next thing, which was Beauvais asked me, and I even said, the best would you take question is one that hurts to answer. Like one that I don't like, I don't want to say yeah to that, but I think I would. And that was, would you take 11? Would you take 11 wins right now? And I said yes, like gun to my head, yes, because of all of this. The schedule, the new head coach, the new scheme on defense, the deeper pool, all of it. I think, 12, I think, is a great year no matter what. No matter what seed you end up at, I think you've had a great year if you win 12 games. I think considering everything that we've just talked about, I think if this team wins 11 games and is maybe in good shape physically, health-wise, when they get to the playoffs, I think I would take that. I think I would. I shouldn't add the caveat about health. You can't know. I think I would take 11 wins. Thinking about that the start to the schedule alone, those first 5 games are brutal, I think. So, I don't know. What is it too soon? It's July 9th, and I'm saying I would settle for 11, which is, I'm basically saying I'm not going to get the 1 seed.
Definitely not getting the 1 seed.
Right.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's I'm itchy on the trigger finger there, but I don't know. I'm in a place where I would have to sign for that, I think.
11 wins, you are biting fingernails in December. The In the Hunt graphic is on our television every week. I don't know that I don't think I'm signing up for that. I also think the conversation this week, maybe it was on NFL Live, about which team and coach and player has the most pressure on them to perform, and I think it's very clearly the Bills. And I don't think that's just they're an easy target. I think that they do have the most pressure because they fired their head coach, and which means 12 wins in an AFC divisional round loss is not good enough anymore. So they could go 17-0 and lose in the divisional round again, and no one's going to give Joe Brady credit. I don't think they get to 16-1, and everyone's going to say, it's a pretty good season. But what happens? What now?
Yeah.
When they get to January?
Well, that would you'd think 16-1 would give you the benefit of the 1 seed.
I think you would. But I guess where I'm going with that part of the conversation is maybe I would take the 11 just because I think it doesn't matter about they've done everything you could do in the regular. I almost called it preseason because that's what it sort of bleeping feels like at this point, which is. You've won 13 games. You've won 12 games. You've won 11 games. You've made it to 2 AFC championship games. You've won at home. You have had the best differential in NFL history over the course of 5 seasons. And none of it has really gotten you to where it. Yeah. So I guess I'm open to a team, but I think you also have to look at history, which is I think there's one wild card team that's ever made a Super Bowl. I think that you have to be in a scenario where you have last year they had to go on the road. It's hard to win 3 road games. It's hard in the NFL, and the Bills proved it. They went into Jacksonville not without sacrifice. They lost again every year. We talk about it, Bulldog. Mm-hmm. When they've got to play in the wild card round, they lose somebody important, and then the next week you're playing without them. So would I take 11 wins? It's probably 85% chance with 11 wins you're making the playoffs. I think I would just like to be safe and get 12. They had to play on the road with 12 wins last year.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying when I say it. I'm just gonna tell you that what are the is this Chat GP? I don't even know what it is.
Good.
The Google
AI's the Google
whatever. Copilot search, I think is what
okay,
it says.
Yeah. AI.
11 wildcard teams have reached the Super Bowl, with 7 of them winning the championship.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I guess that's why you've got AI to.
Tampa in 20, Baltimore in 12, Packers in 10. Man, I thought I could have sworn that one of those Giants teams was a wild card, but I guess I must be mistaken. Or this thing. Here's the thing. I said what I said about whatever this engine is.
Yes.
it makes mistakes.
It does.
And so I'm going to have to double check.
And you know that I don't.
No,
I
there's
don't.
no way that you made a
I
mistake.
I don't make
could
mistakes.
Could not be that. I want to sit with the most pressure in the league is on the Bills because Baltimore's in the same situation.
Yeah.
I mean, and their quarterbacks won the MVP twice. So I think that those two teams to me are still running the same race.
But even with Baltimore, they have failed. I mean, in this whole era, since Josh Allen's really been Josh Allen, the Bills haven't missed the playoffs. Ravens have. And I know the Ravens moving on from their coach feels a little different than the Bills moving on from their coach. It felt way more time. It felt time a couple of years ago with Harbaugh, but it kind of seemed like he had a lifetime contract and that was just you win a Super Bowl, you've got time.
You get a lot of runway, yeah.
I don't know. And I don't, there's going to be at least some controversy in stating this, but I think largely the league views Josh Allen differently than Lamar Jackson. Right?
I'm not sure.
I think that Josh Allen gets the same reputation in the playoffs that Lamar Jackson does with absolutely no proof of that.
Right.
Right? But he gets lumped into the same conversation of Josh. I saw a thing the other day. There was a choke. I don't know. Oh, it was the Egypt. And it was Mo Salah with Josh Allen as his head. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know. I guess where I'm going with this is the reason
he did kind of kill him in Denver.
He did. He did. He also kept him afloat.
Sure.
Yeah. He was bailing water out of a boat that he himself put the holes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We got to take a break.
Yeah, we do.
Most pressure in the league on the Bills, says Nate Geary. Is that okay?
Sure,
I'm being very talk showy there.
Yeah, it was.
803-05. It is, after all, a talk show. 803-0550 is the number. We sailed right into it here. We didn't even tell you what's happening today. Mike Tanier on the NFL at 4 o'clock. And at 5, our buddy Joe Yurden from Bleacher Report on the Sabres and the NHL and the match Anaheim did today on the giant offer sheet for Leo Carlson. We'll get into all of that as we go. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary in for Mike on the Bulldog. This is WGR.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Garfalo, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
give Belknap a ring.
Sean McDermott was a very good head coach. This was a very good football team for a long, long time. They fired him and said, that's not good enough. So the ownership is telling you right now, what we did in the past is not good enough. 12-5 and not getting to the Super Bowl is not good enough. So I don't know if there is a head coach in an organization under as much pressure for the right reasons than Joe Brady and the Buffalo Bills, because we all know good is not good enough. He's got to be great. He's got to get this team to a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. They can go 17-0. Nobody cares. What are you going to do once the playoff starts?
Welcome to the
spin
Booger
zone.
McFarland, Nate Geary hive mind.
The spin zone.
Did not see that coming in the year 2026, but here we are. Yeah.
The spin zone.
I'm sitting with it. I'm sort of contemplating it. Like I think it's funny. Like, to me, I totally get that premise. Like you said it before I heard Booger McFarland say it, and I liked it then, because my approach has mostly been kind of pump the brakes. Don't assume everything just continues along because of all the change. And instead, this is, well, the change means the change brings the pressure, which is interesting. Like, I wonder, like, if McDermott hadn't been fired and was still here going into year 10, would the Bills have the most pressure of any team in the league because Sean McDermott's in year 10 and Josh Allen still hasn't been to a Super Bowl? I think yes. So
it's just pressure from a different color pressure.
McDermott from the equation, put in a rookie head coach, and just assume the same pressure situation. That's a lot, man.
Yeah,
that is a lot. I mean, I hope they're up to it. That's a lot, I think, for Allen, for everyone.
First time head coach, first time defensive play caller in the NFL. It's not his first time calling plays, generally speaking. He did Wisconsin. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of firsts in this group of coaches. Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, you do have the unknown right now of what DJ Moore is in this offense. There was a predict DJ Moore stat line, and I think I put like 88 catches, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. People were like, that's insane. Like, I'm like, that's what a number one receiver's numbers are. So is he a number one receiver? Because if he is, that's what you're looking at.
Well, one of the ways I can be talked out of, and believe me, when I sound like I'm pessimistic, it's, I still think, like, I would take 11 wins. I think 11 wins is reasonable and realistic, even with all the concerns I have. The one thing that can get me out of that headspace is the idea that all the new, especially on defense, like, if they can't keep teams down as effectively as mostly they did while McDermott was their coach in the regular season anyway, if they can't play to that consistent level and are forced into a different, like, the focus of the offense becomes a little bit less. I don't think you're ever going to run completely away from James Cook. He led the league in rushing. You were excellent at it. So you're going to want to keep doing a good amount of that. But if they just start leaning a little more because they have to, game script tells you we got to keep up. And that means more throwing. And that means maybe DJ Moore has that kind of season and Josh Allen has, a more explosive year. Maybe that's a thing that sort of keeps them going as a top powerhouse in the AFC.
I keep thinking more and more about 2020. And I think more and more about how that team was built offensively, which was, we don't really have a guy in the running, but it was Singletary and Zach Moss and, I don't know, right? And I think TJ Yeldon was moonlighted for a moment.
I don't remember that, but okay. I remember him on the Bills. I'm not sure.
If it was, anyway. Yeah. But you think about the every level passing attack they had, right? That was early Dawson Knox. It was Cole Beasley. It was John Brown. It was short, intermediate, deep.
And Diggs, of course.
And Diggs,
20. He
course.
Arrived here in 20.
Right. So you had the number one receiver. the take the top off the defense guy, the runs all the underneath routes, first down, merchant,
Life preserver
and then
guy,
and then an opportunistic pass catching tight end that could get you a lot and could do a lot in the red zone. And I start to look at this team, and you start to see similar parallels to how they are trying to build the thing. And the question I keep coming back to is, and I'm sure I can guarantee when you're at a bar stool at, your favorite North Buffalo, tavern, that you have at least had one person come up to you and say, of the sorts, yeah, but, McDermott was holding Joe Brady back. Joe Brady really wanted to throw the football, but it was McDermott that really wanted to run the football. And the only reason I'm going to give that idea a moment of oxygen is, when was the last time since Sean McDermott's been fired that you've heard everybody eats?
Well, I think that they with intent have left that.
I think it's done
at a rest stop.
And I just wonder, yes, they left it somewhere in the 90s.
Which is what should have been, which is what should have happened to it.
That was like a funny, fun little 1 year, we're going to get through this together kind of thing. And then year 2, I was like, this isn't that cool anymore.
No.
This is not cool anymore.
No.
But I do want to say, a little of it is now, okay, well, we got a number 1 receiver. You start hearing the head coach and offensive play caller, Joe Brady, say they want to move the offense and have it run through Josh Allen again. And I think if they do that, they have, I think, risen their ceiling.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying.
Maybe lowered their floor.
My premise is that they're sort of forced at knife point to do it because their defense isn't as good. But however you get there, and if they're there without even seeing the defense play a down yet, then good for them.
Agreed.
Because they should. I hope. Just get over that.
Prevent defense.
Lean into Allen.
The prevent defense and hold the ball. It hasn't worked. Not when it matters. It's worked it's won them a ton of games in the regular season. And I don't want to just glaze over that and not give credit where credit's due. It has won them a bleep ton of regular season football games. And we can talk about how regular season at this point for a lot of Bills fans doesn't matter anymore. I also think it's sort of the attitude that I've had in games when I'm on after you guys in the post game and a bunch of people, want to call in and tell me I'm just the young Jerry Sullivan because I'm so salty and angry after the Bills win a game. And I'm like, yeah, but you beat the Jets by 3. Do you want me to get on the show and
how great was that?
How great was that? No, you beat the Jets by 3 points. And I think that's really where I've gotten to the point where it's hard. 7 years ago, you could be excited about a 3-point Jets win on the road when in week 1 when, John Brown gets that game-winning touchdown. You're like, wow, this is exciting. I've done so many depressing shows that is really cool. But at a certain point, they have less. It's
a lot less impressive.
Juice. There's just less juice.
I know, someone's waiting to tell you, it's hard to win games in our league, like Dick Geronimo always used to say. But yeah, that's it. It gets harder and harder. I fight this battle constantly. It gets harder and harder to just enjoy the regular season.
Yep.
Because Mike will reference. He's got a friend, acquaintance. I can't wait until we beat Kansas City and I feel nothing. In a regular season game. That's that.
We are definitely
close
to that.
That is the definitive, I'm numb to how great we are. Take I think you could ever have.
Yeah.
Because there should be never, ever, ever be anything ordinary about beating the Chiefs, I don't think. But I get it. You need to do it in January, not in November, and they still haven't done it.
Don't do that.
So
they don't do that.
It's Yeah, I like this pressure point.
Yeah, it's no pun intended, but pressure point.
I didn't even. Yeah, I did not mean that at all. I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I did.
Good thing you're
Yeah,
here.
I think
No,
thank
you
God.
did. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
803-0550. Let me say the phone number without laughing. 803-0550 is the phone number. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, we're just hanging out, talking some football here. I hope that's okay. Nate Geary is in for Mike. Mike Tanier is coming up at the top of the hour. We'll pose this to him. Do the Bills have the most pressure of any team in the NFL? And talk about everything we've been talking about mostly with Mike. Looking forward to that. And then Joe Yurden, we haven't touched base with him, I don't think, since the Sabres. I think we had him on once after the thing ended. But anyway, we'll talk about the lay of the land here and whether there's any reason to think something could be percolating out there still in trade land for the hockey team. That's as we go. But again, 803-0550, lines are wide open if you're so inclined. Nate Geary in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR. Grooving along here on a Thursday. Nate Geary in for Mike Schopp. I am the Bulldog. 803-0550 is your number. Well, it's our number. It's the number you... I think you know how phones work. Randy's first up this segment. Hi, Randy. You're on WGR.
Hey, how we doing today?
Really good, man. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I've been listening to a lot of talk shows about. I'm a Seahawks fan. Just want to let you know. So I don't have any overall skin in the game with the Bills. I've lived in Niagara Falls my whole life. I've watched the Bills a lot. And I just think a lot of guys are expecting so much out of Moore when he comes in. I just don't see his skill set jiving with Josh Allen the way he plays. So unless Josh changes the way he plays a little bit, I just think the Bills are going to be a little disappointed when DJ Moore comes here. They're expecting an awful lot out of the guy, and I just don't think those two are on the same page. I mean, they might be by the time the season starts, I hope, for them, but I just don't see their games, suiting them
Are you prepared to take a question on this position? Because I'm just curious. I'm not being a jerk.
Go right ahead.
What makes you? What about DJ Moore and how he plays? Because there might be validity to this. He didn't mesh with Caleb Williams. I think we know that last year anyway. What about DJ Moore's skill set and Allen's skill set arrives you at this opinion?
I think Josh is more. He takes control of the game like himself. Like he likes to be the focal point, and he should be, because as good as he is, I totally get why he does what he does. So I just don't see him like wanting to give up that way he plays to throw the ball more to one guy a little bit more,
right. Yep.
just to make him that number one receiver. Because of all the receivers you guys have had over the years, he picks his spots with certain guys in certain times, but more often than not, he's looking to make that big play himself. So I just don't see. I mean, now anyway, that might be a problem, I think.
All right, asked and answered, Randy. Thank you. What do you think of this premise?
I don't know. I think you can have an argument that DJ Moore, based on your point, like having some very clear chemistry issues with Caleb Williams last year. But I also think I might want to agree with a certain part of what Randy's saying, especially over the last 2 years in the everybody eats era. Before that, I mean, Cole Beasley was having 100-plus target seasons. And unlike
Diggs got fed regularly.
He had the most yards in a single season in 2021, 2020, maybe one of those years. He led the league in receiving yards. I think that without a number one receiver, and this is where I want to give Josh credit, I think he's been able to almost like a chameleon change his colors based on what the group is around him and what the offense is asking of him. And I think that Josh under Dable, 75% of the time, where he's throwing the football down the field, a lot of yards to John Brown were down the field. They have not had that since John Brown left. That wasn't even really a Diggs thing. Diggs was your all-around, could-do-everything receiver. I think DJ Moore can do that, and I also think he's one of the best down the field, some of the best hands, contested catches, tight window guys down the field in the league. I think he's been in a difficult situation in Chicago where his quarterback doesn't play from the pocket. So that makes things harder for wide receivers when you're constantly in those scramble drills.
Right.
So
there'll be plenty of that here, you'd think.
There will be.
I mean,
but at least Josh has proven he can be a pocket passer. And I don't disagree that he wants to throw the cape on in those moments, but I also think he's proven in years past that he is willing to let a receiver take a game over.
Yeah, I'm my takeaway on all that, like it's a valid concern, I think. But what Allen has not had the last 2 years is someone who he could regularly count on to beat his man,
and then also make the catch,
find the spot, and make the play and make the catch. And if DJ Moore proves to be reliable in that way, I don't think there'll be any problem getting him fed.
No,
I don't think Allen is feed the number one receiver averse. he hasn't had a number one receiver for 2 years, and we've seen the results of that. They still, were one of the best teams in the league, but they did not have a high-level functioning passing game. And so I don't know. I'm not worried about, if Moore can't work with a guy who scrambles, then I've got a problem.
Right.
Because that's going to be a part of the drill here. But I'm not thinking Allen doesn't want to feed a number one receiver because he hasn't thrown it regularly to a number one receiver because he hasn't had one.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Mike Tanier on the NFL after this on WGR.
World Cup quarterfinals getting underway as France will take on Morocco. That game about to get started. Meanwhile, FIFA announcing that England defender Jarrell Quansah has been suspended for 2 matches after picking up a red card against Mexico in the previous round. To hockey, the Anaheim Ducks matched the offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, preventing the Philadelphia Flyers from acquiring the 21-year-old. Carlson's cap hit for Anaheim now, $18.5 million per season on an average annual value over the next 5 years. Anaheim would have received 4 first-round picks if they declined to match the offer sheet and let Carlsson go to Philadelphia, but alas, Carlsson remains a Duck. To football, Jacksonville cornerback and receiver Travis Hunter will be a full go at training camp, according to NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe. Hunter had his rookie season cut short in 2025 with a knee injury. To baseball, we had plenty of matinee games going on throughout the day, and most of them are about to be wrapping up here. The Yankees up big on the Rays in the bottom of the ninth, 12-4. The Guardians up 5-2 on the Twins. The Red Sox with a 2-1 lead on the White Sox. Meanwhile, the Mets beat the Royals earlier today, 7-3. This update's brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
There's one chip and only one chip for the guacamole. That's that Cantina Gold, thick in the yellow bag.
It's Mike Schopp.
No thin crisp, no scoops. Get out of here with hint of lime. Horrendous choice.
And the Bulldog.
The lime is just too much lime. There's lime in the guacamole. Any more lime is too much lime. You're crossing the line. You've crossed the line. If you're using hint of lime in the guacamole with the lime, you've crossed the line.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
I'm going to talk to HR because I don't feel like that open equally represents my position on the matter.
Yeah, it's very one-sided.
It really does. I think I should, not to make light of HR. I'm trying to be cute. Anyway, glad to have you with us here on a hot Thursday. Thunderstorms in the area. Anyway, just, head on a swivel out there. Nate Geary in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. Happy to welcome back to the show our old friend Mike Tenier, co-founder of Too Deep Zone, formerly, I love this, formerly of Football Outsiders, the New York Times, the Messenger, Bleacher Report, and other ancient empires, although the Blue Sky bio is a little bit different. Mike, it's nice to talk to you again, and I feel like we got to make an effort to make sure we do this during the season, because I'm having flashbacks to being in here while Mike is on vacation and Nate is here and talking to you like 5 years in a row. I feel like I don't know. Anyway, it's nice to talk to you again, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. It is sort of like the sign of summer here. It's like the 4th of July ends, and you guys call me up, and it's time to talk Bills training camp again.
Right. We're a little early for that, but still, we are here. How are things, man? How's Too Deep Zone going? I assume you still contributed to the Almanac, the FTN joint now. How's everything going? You keeping busy?
Oh, I'm keeping very busy, and yes, I contributed 8 chapters, not the Bills chapter, but NFC East and NFC West chapters to the Football Outsiders Almanac, now the FTN Almanac, and that is on sale now. You can go to FTNFantasy.com and download it. It's tons and tons of work on my part, work on Aaron Schatz's part, and stats, information, jokes, scouting, everything you could ask for to get ready for the NFL season.
Well, in an ever-changing world, we know we can always count on that almanac, which is produced by humans like yourself and Aaron and lots of others. So cheers on that. So my guy Nate here an hour or so ago said something that I thought was pretty interesting, and then we had a clip of Booger McFarland from ESPN basically saying the same thing, that he thinks and Nate thinks, I should let Nate tell you, right? Anyway, he's sitting right here, but he's busy watching soccer.
Gosh.
The Bills have more pressure, the most pressure of any team in the league on them this year. How does that land on you?
I think that's the case, and it might be something we said last July. It's that nothing except good health matters in training camp. Nothing matters in September. Nothing matters in October. The season begins in January. There is no, hey, this team went 11-6. Wasn't that a win? No, that's not a win. The Super Bowl is the win, and that's been persistent. It's been every year. If anything, the pressure is increased. It's now increasing on Joe Brady instead of Sean McDermott. It's increasing, I suppose, on Josh Allen, although I think he's immune to some of this. But everybody else on that roster, it's win or go home, and all the work that they're doing now, no matter how good it looks, the grades don't come in until they're on top of the AFC East, or they're on top of the first round bye in the playoffs, and they're getting themselves in position for that Super Bowl.
Schedule difficult, new faces, young coaches, a first-time NFL play caller on the defensive side of the ball, a first-time head coach in Joe Brady. They're certainly, Mike, I mean, they at least Brandon Beane has shown, like, okay, this isn't good enough. We're going to kind of flip it on its head here. What was your ultimate, what did you sort of think of the move to fire Sean McDermott? I thought it was time. I made a joke earlier. We were talking just about kind of all of the factors of them losing last year when you don't have a Patrick Mahomes and you don't have a Joe Burrow or a Lamar Jackson, and it kind of sort of felt like that was their biggest blown opportunity and maybe the biggest reason why McDermott's gone. But your thoughts of the move to finally make the move on McDermott, and what sort of your thoughts are on the new head coach, Joe Brady?
Did anyone say Brandon Beane isn't good enough? Let's turn you on your head.
Lots of us.
A couple.
Yeah.
One or two of us.
Yeah.
One or two. Yeah.
That was my question. Is who's watching The Watchmen here? Where Sean McDermott, and only Sean McDermott, wasn't good enough, but Beane and Brady, they can be promoted. That's what gets the antenna up when you're somebody who watches the whole league. Where you look at the Bills' relative failures. I'm going to say relative failures because of what you said. Obviously, this is a playoff team. They were not good enough last year. They were not. They let the Patriots catch up on them. They did not take the opportunity when the Chiefs and the Ravens fell short. But I think that failure landed on the heads of McDermott and Beane and Brady and everyone. So the fact that it turned into more of a palace coup, that was kind of eye-opening, and a lot of good things are being said about Jim Leonard. I'm impressed generally from Jim Leonard, the work he did in the Broncos, et cetera. It was either time for continuity or time for change. I don't think they really did the continuity right or did the change right. I think this was an opportunity for some of the people in the front office there and in the coaching staff to kind of assess blame to somebody else, and then feather their own nests.
And Mike, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Terry Pegula and the Bills ownership team that ultimately made the decision, but I think if you want to look at this from a playing board, right, which is I think they wanted and felt they needed to make a shift defensively from the culture and the scheme that was, largely like just the bend but don't break, and that worked in the regular season but not in the postseason. What we heard a lot of in terms of why Brandon Beane was still here and not Sean McDermott, was that they had been sinking a lot of assets in the defense, and that there was more, of this, well, he doesn't think he has a good enough roster, but, Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane, they think they do. We've been giving you lots. You're not, we're giving you the brush, buddy. Make us art. And I'm wondering.
Please don't take me back to the news conference.
Sorry. Sorry.
I tried to move on.
I digress. Can you get there? With all of that said, can you get to the place where, okay, all this makes sense and maybe this was the right move?
Yeah, we sunk a lot of assets into the defense, but, Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid and the 10 different receivers we would bring in, during the season to make these plays. That's a little bit of a self-serving agitprop on the people who survived. The people who lived the history wrote that history. I get the idea that McDermott's defense was getting stale. There was this issue where he was sort of defensive play caller and coordinator and head coach and things like that. That probably wasn't the best move. So if you say, well, it's time to get rid of McDermott, that makes sense. We all have questions about how that offense was run, too. We all have questions about Brady's system, the development of the players there. So why was only the McDermott problem addressed? And we can talk about how drafts have been handled, some of the decisions they made in terms of, what they did at wide receiver, et cetera. Why was only one person held accountable? It's impossible to turn around from that and not look at it with a little bit of a side eye and suspicion based on who survived, who profited, and who was let go.
So how realistic is it to you that they can meet this pressure if they are indeed the team in the NFL with the most pressure on them and, I don't know, improve on winning 12 games a year, which is basically what, mostly what they've done. Not every year, but, plenty of times. They have never had the 1 seed. That would be an improvement. Can they do all that in a season with all this change? Because some of the change we hope all of it's going to be positive, of course, Mike, but DJ Moore specifically is a piece they have not had on offense since they divested themselves of Stephon Diggs 2 off seasons ago.
Right, and that's somebody that they've tried to replace from within through the draft. They haven't been able to do it, but absolutely they can meet this pressure. I'm looking at the FTN Almanac projections right now. They have the second highest projection in the AFC. I'll leave you guys to guess if you want to who's first in the AFC. But, they are substantially ahead in terms of projections of the Patriots, who are further down on that list. And, of course, the Dolphins and the Jets are kind of like a dispensary of victories for both of those teams, the way the projections work. So once you get there, then you're putting yourself in the group. So they're ahead of the Chiefs projection-wise. They're ahead of the Ravens projection-wise. Again, there's only one team ahead of them. Would you like to guess who's ahead of them in the projections?
I'm going to guess that it's Jacksonville.
Incorrect. You're close from the conference division standpoint.
Houston, then, it must be, right?
It is the Houston Texans, whose defense is considered to be so dominant, they get a little bounce back from their offense, and suddenly they're slaughtering everything in their wake, and their schedule's much easier than the Bills. So, this is another chance. Josh Allen gives them another chance. James Cook gives them another chance. Offensive line, the veterans on defense, et cetera. They're there. They can meet that pressure in 2026.
How much does the uneven season DJ Moore had last year while the Bears were mostly breaking through, recognizing that Caleb Williams was far from a perfect player last year, but there's certainly big strides were made all around there with Ben Johnson. But DJ Moore was the guy that kind of fell through the cracks. Is that how alarming is that? And are you confident that he bounces back to what he had been, prior to that in his career, which was a pretty regular 1,000-yard receiver?
Regular 1,000-yard receiver. We're on 3 successive years of his yardage totals dropping. Okay, and that's a little bit of a flag. Another thing, a little bit of a flag is his best seasons often lined up with sort of chaos on offense, whether it was the Panthers or with the Bears, where you kind of got the impression where this was the guy who was the safety valve, the binky for your Justin Fieldses, for your guys like that. Now, he could be that for Josh Allen potentially, but I'm a worry there. And the other red flag is, the Bears seem to be ascending, and part of their ascendance was, we don't need DJ Moore anymore. Right. We got Luther Burden. We got these tight ends. We have Rome Odunze. This is a team that should be like, hey, we're all in. And instead of like, hey, we're going to make this guy available. I don't think he's the Stephon Diggs you're seeking. I think he's going to help, but this is going to be another year of Bills receiver by committee, and that's okay. But we keep seeing Bills receiver by committee with Joe Brady in charge of it. We keep seeing this, and we keep seeing it not being the thing that launches Josh Allen to the stratosphere, so to speak. So that's one more worry. I think he helps. I think he's a good addition. I think there needs to be more at wide receiver.
So, Mike, talking about a little bit of like the Joe Brady system, it's funny because Bulldog and I were sort of laughing about the fact that we haven't heard the term, everybody eats, which was like a fun, cute little thing in year one. And then last year it was like, the Step Brothers scene where now the suits sort of seem bleeped up, and now it's like, I think we all got sort of sick of the everybody eats thing. And it's not lost on me that they still have, on their roster, the league's leading rusher last year, and they had some movement on the offensive line. But Aaron Cromer leaving, who was kind of the architect of that run game, I wonder kind of what your thoughts are about when you have the offensive coordinator, pass game coordinator calling plays, and then the other guy kind of architecting but calling the run plays. How much in your kind of experience, I mean, I know you've watched more football than I will have forgotten in my life, but how much of that do you think changes? How different does their run game look without a guy that I think was so, integral to like what they were doing in their offensive, their running attack?
It can make a big difference. In a lot of teams, the offensive coordinator is pretty much de facto passing game coordinator. These guys make their money designing pass plays. And then if there's not a run game coordinator, the offensive line coach is often the person doing that. And sometimes that they do bring some secret sauce to that particular equation. I'm thinking of Jeff Southland here in Philly. He retired from the Eagles, and suddenly the running game was not the same. It's a matter of installation. It's a matter of sort of like the nuts and bolts of the design of things. I wouldn't put that up as a red flag, but you're kind of getting back to it with Brady. It's like, okay, well, what worked for the Bills last year? Well, the running game, because Cook and the offensive line were very good, and Allen contributes to the running game, and the backup running backs were good. Okay, well, who left? That's the running game coordinator. That's not ideal. They can promote from within. I don't even know who their running game coordinator is right now, to be frank. But that isn't a sign that the Bills were optimizing things based on who was succeeding and who was failing. It's more of a, who gets fed, so to speak, who gets promoted during the course of this little power struggle that happened in January.
As Nate was asking the question that you just answered, I realized why I always think to look you up when Nate is in here filling in for Mike, because he speaks your language in a way that I just don't. That's just, you guys. Mike Tanier, our guest here on the West Her Hotline. You can find his work at a Substack, Too Deep Zone, also a contributor to the FTN Football Almanac with our buddy Aaron Schatz. How about the run game as the focus for this team? Do you see, I've given the Bills credit, Mike, over the years here for sort of maybe being ahead of the wave, ahead of the curve on we're going to have to lean into the run game because defenses are just taking away the explosive passing game. And the Bills, I think, capitalized on that and had, a fantastic couple of seasons really running the ball. I wonder, with the change, with no longer a defensive-minded head coach, and Brady's relationship with Allen and being the play caller and the head coach and not really having, a head coach to answer to anymore, whether or not they and this point that Nate makes about Cromer leaving and that you substantiate. Yeah. Do they lean more into a passing game piloted by Josh Allen, and is that a good idea?
Well, again, if you're facing the Jets or Dolphins or some of the weaker opponents, you should just jam the ball down their throats. I know there were a couple of times last year, I don't remember the specific games, I'm watching Bills games, and I'm like, will you please stop toying with your food in the first quarter and the second quarter? Get 2 tight ends and just run the ball against this team, and then when they come up, let Josh and Allen make a play, get the 14-0, and just end this game quickly. And there was sort of this weird need to get everybody involved early in the game, and next thing you know, it's close against, I think the Buccaneers was one of them. Yep. It might have been the Saints was one of them, was early, if I remember. So you want your running game to be there when you are the superior team, which is going to happen a couple of times for the Bills, and you want it there to clean up your victories. After that, you want balance. So is Brady going to embrace that now that he doesn't have McDermott over his shoulder saying, I'm a defense coach, do it this way? I don't know. You got Josh Allen. It's not you can air it out, and it should be okay. It's just was frustrating at times, and not as a Bills fan, just as a viewer, saying this should not be close right now because you should do what the Rams do, which is go heavy and just be like, we can dominate you, we can win this game at any time, take the lead and go. So let's see if they do that this year.
Let me put a bow on the Joe Brady conversation with this sort of question to you. Pete Carmichael ends up coming over as the team offensive coordinator. He's not going to call plays, but I'm starting to lean into the idea, Mike, that Brady has some experience in the Sean Payton system, and now Pete Carmichael's here, and maybe that's just to shadow everything that you want a veteran guy when you're a first-time head coach, and especially somebody you trust. If I were to tell you right now today that the Bills would look more to the Sean Payton principles of offense, that both in the running game, using the running backs more in the pass game, and a lot of the, like what we know from Drew Brees to be, right? And those Marquise Colston and the big years that those offenses had. If I were to tell you today that is who Joe Brady pictured this offense leaning into, would you say that is the right move for the personnel, or are you kind of thinking that that's maybe a little too nostalgic and isn't something that you think would work properly or work well in this with this group of players?
It's a little bit of both. Carmichael was there. He was Peyton's right-hand man ever. I think it was 2 years ago he was still Peyton's right-hand man. And with this personnel, those old Saints teams were kind of like, yeah, we don't really have a wide receiver one. We have a couple of possession guys, a couple of vertical guys. We rotate our receivers. It can see the logic behind that. Allen isn't Breeze, but he's bigger and stronger and can run, and Breeze can do those things, so he can do a lot of the same things. That's part of it. I guess my question is, well, where has that been for the rest of Brady's NFL career as coordinator? And now he's a Sean Payton guy. It's like, wait, I thought he was, a Panthers guy. I thought he was an LSU guy. So it's a little chameleon. Like, yeah, Carmichael brings that in. But maybe it's not so much nostalgic as we're connecting the dots now. And we're going back to, hey, these guys were doing this like 8 years ago. Maybe that's it. I need to see it on the field to believe it.
You mentioned in passing, looking at the FTN chapter, the Almanac chapter on the Bills and projections. Where are you at on Dalton Kincaid? Because this is a somewhat confounding player. He seems extremely productive when used, but his usage doesn't really line up with what his the quality that he is. Maybe that's a pitch count health-wise. I sense that it has been the last couple of years. So tough one to handicap because you don't know what the condition of his knees are going to be, I guess. But where are you at on Kincaid?
Well, he was really good in the playoffs. When we last saw him, I know he was playing very well there. And, yeah, I'm actually looking up his game logs. Like, wow, boom or bust. I know injuries were part of it, and I know he blew up in a couple of games, and then he just disappeared. And I can't imagine that injuries have all to do with that. And I know Knox was involved. You have Jackson Howes. This is a team that wants to go 2 wide receivers, wants to go 3 tight ends, 2 tight ends. Get all of these guys involved. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been following Kincaid's health status recently. It's another one of those questions about the offense. I would say that's another one of these questions. Only one guy had more than 39, 40 catches last year. Only I think Shakir had more than that. You say everybody's feeding. Not everybody's feeding. A lot of people are going hungry right now, and Cook is feeding, and I guess Shakir was feeding, and that was it. And that's another question that's got to be answered. Kincaid is supposed to be the de facto possession guy in this offense. We haven't seen it in the last 2 years. I think we need to see it.
Something that has struck me over the last couple of days, and Nate and I have talked a little bit about this today already, Mike, is how much the landscape has shifted in the AFC. For years, we would talk at this time of the year with you, and it'd be the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs, and the Bengals might take a turn. Miami had a hot minute when they scored 70 on Denver, and they were ahead of the Bills for most of that one season, but the Bills nipped them at the wire, whatever. But it feels like the hierarchy, it's not so much that the Bills, Ravens, and Chiefs have been toppled, but I feel like maybe they've come back a little bit and the rest of the pack has risen up.
That's kind of it. The analogy I use is everybody went into pit row last year. The Chiefs had to go into pit row because they had a flat tire, and the Ravens had to go into pit row, and the Bills kind of went into pit row a little bit because they have the coaching change. And now they're coming out, and as they're coming out, it's like, it appears that the Texans and the Patriots and the Broncos are now ahead of us. And the question becomes, well, is that just temporary? Are we about to slip past them, or are they going to have to enter pit row, or how's that going to go? So, yeah, it's a much harder conference to prognosticate. I look at this big Texans number here for a projection, and I say, I know their defense is good, but do I really see 12 wins, 13 wins, first round bye? I don't see it. You start looking at teams like the Steelers, and you're like, are they going, or the Jaguars? What are they right now? The Broncos, we don't know if Bo Nix is healthy. Okay, and we don't know if Bo Nix is that good.
Right, there's that too, yeah.
Right, well, there's that, but if he comes back and it's like, well, he's doing the defense and Peyton's running the show and making him look better, we don't know if he's even going to be able to be capable of that. So it's very tricky, and I guess in those circumstances, it's very comforting to have Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen is Josh Allen. Even Lamar Jackson, he's always hurt. Mahomes is coming back from injury. You have a big, healthy, in his prime, Josh Allen, and that is going to cover up for a lot of potential ills.
So you mentioned the Texans as kind of the leader in the clubhouse right now in terms of, preseason rankings. We were discussing whether the Ravens should also be considered and lumped into this conversation of teams with the most pressure because, they've kind of been in the same conversation the Bills do in the regular season, can't get it done in the playoffs. I was of the mind that I don't really lump them in, and it's largely because of how people view Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, right, wrong, and different, and for whatever people's motivations are, whatever. Where do you stand on this Ravens team as they head into, I think, a really important season for them with a new head coach? And by the way, some drama this offseason with the whole Max Crosby thing and how teams are viewing their front office, so on and so forth. But yeah, Ravens, talk to me.
I think the overall pressure is high. Now, of course, they change coaches too, and Jesse Minter is not going to be held that accountable in year one for these things. Eric DeCosta might. Because of the Max Crosby trade and things like that. So the general manager might be under pressure. Lamar Jackson is always in this weird nether region where, he has to get his contract renegotiated, and the Ravens seem to be trying to do it, and he doesn't seem to care one way or the other. So there's a weird element to that. So I would say the pressure between those two teams is pretty similar right now, but it's hard to say who individually is under pressure. Okay, the head coaches are safe. The quarterbacks are going to make money no matter what. It becomes more of a matter of rank and file guys on the team. Will the team get blown up? One thing about the Ravens is I think their roster got a little more blown up than the Bills roster did this year. Yeah. And I don't know how that equates to pressure. On the one hand, the new guys might have a chance to be like, well, you guys are new. If you're Derrick Henry or somebody like that, you might be looking at saying this is your last year. It's the end of the line if you can't get it done in 2026.
Where are we finding all your best stuff? I know you're over on the Blue Sky. Good for you for taking the plunge. I admire you. I can't seem to quit the habit, so I'm still stuck in the mud. Is that where we got to look you up here? Too Deep Zone. How do we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier, and then the Too Deep Zone is now on Ghost. I'm not going to give you the URL because it's long and strange. Look up Too Deep Zone, TOO Deep Zone, like a Cure album, not like the Defense. It's Too Deep. And then look up Ghost because that's where you'll find it. Had to move from Substack for similar reasons. That's why I moved from X to Blue Sky. But it's the Too Deep Zone Ghost newsletter. Check it out. I'll be really revving into high gear in a week or two with training camp previews by the middle of July.
Thanks a lot for the time, Mike. We always enjoy it. Good luck with all that, and we'll hope to reconnect real soon.
Absolutely. Take care and enjoy what's left of your summer.
We will. Come on, it just started.
I know.
Left
we can
of the
talk.
summer.
Yeah, left.
Get him back.
Yeah.
What? Left of my summer. We live in Buffalo, dude. It was like snowing in May. I mean, what are you? The rest of our summer.
I know. It's weird to say, but he's not. Rough.
Mike Tanier. All right, there you go. Love the visit. Drops a Cure reference.
I was gonna say, man, that guy knows his audience.
It's all good. Yeah. All right, we'll hit up a timeout and sink our teeth further into the Bills conversation we've been having most of the day so far. And Houston, I want to talk about that. We've talked to Aaron Schatz about it. We just talked to Mike Tanier about it. Let's talk to Nate Geary about it. He's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR. With the intense July heat hitting us hard this
World Cup quarterfinals getting underway this afternoon. France taking on Morocco to start off the round. It's currently a scoreless tie between the two teams as we're in the 32nd minute. Meanwhile, FIFA announcing that England defender Jarell Quansah has been suspended for 2 matches after picking up a red card against Mexico. To hockey, the Anaheim Ducks matched the offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, preventing the Philadelphia Flyers from acquiring the 21-year-old. Carlson's cap hit for Anaheim now $18.5 million per season over the next 5 years. Anaheim would have received 4 first-round picks if they declined to match the offer sheet. To football, Jacksonville cornerback and receiver Travis Hunter will be a full go at training camp, according to NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe. Hunter had his rookie season cut short in 2025 due to a knee injury. To baseball, 1 game going on right now. It's the top of the 9th for the Red Sox as they're up 2-1 on the White Sox. Meanwhile, games that finished earlier, the Mets beating the Royals 7-3. The Yankees win big over Tampa 12-4, while the Guardians take down the Twins 5-2. This update's brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
And there was a push. I did appreciate it. They came up. I'm not going to give any specifics on the matter. Yeah, there was still a bit of a gap. And so it's going to hit hard when I go back to Buffalo and play in front of those fans again. I know that. It was kind of sad seeing some of my teammates at the Byron wedding. But yeah, really excited now. Washington stepped up and made a big offer. And I mean, I couldn't refuse it. And just like the way we had our meetings and what they were saying was just, it was a dream come true, and I'm just so excited about the opportunity.
Sorry, I love this song, and I sort of want the lyrics to kick back in, but I will move along. That's Alex Tuck. It's edited so that the lyrics don't kick back in. See, we're so smart. We're a professional operation here.
Truly.
That's Alex Tuck talking on a podcast that has made the rounds in the last 24 to 48 hours or so. At least that's the time frame within which I've seen clips of it. And talking about the experience of being wooed and courted by the Washington Capitals.
That's how I feel every time I come on this show. Wooed and courted.
I'm a thoughtful texter.
Yes.
Not really.
A lot of kissy face emojis. It's weird sometimes, but yeah.
It's borderline inappropriate.
Yes,
it
truly.
really is what it is.
Speaking of HR.
Talking about calling HR. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We just had a somewhat incredible development in the World Cup match that's going on between Morocco and France, in that Kylian Mbappe had a penalty kick and it was saved. And that's not supposed to happen. I don't think we both.
No.
I stayed. You got up and left the room. It was happening. You
I was
saw
like,
the.
yeah, it's
going
to be 1-0.
He's going to score. I don't need to sit here. I was going to do the same thing, but I had a live spot, so I'm doing it. But I'm looking up while I'm I'm reading. I'm like, I should know this by heart, but I still need the script. And yeah, the dude made a save. I heard. This is easily checkable, and I apologize if I get one of the numbers wrong here. But on my way in, we've been airing at the top of, at least at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. I don't know how frequent they are. I don't even know if they're airing during this show because I'm not in the room a lot when we're not talking. But these Westwood One World Soccer updates or something, I don't know, licensing, maybe they call them something, or maybe they are actually called, I don't know. Anyway, so 2018, they won the World Cup, France. Mbappe, I think, maybe had a hat trick in the final. 2022, they lost in the final on penalties to Messi in Argentina. And here they are this year into the round of 8. Today, scoreless in the 37th minute of this game, again, with Morocco. Their record is, I think I heard this right, 16-1-2. Is the record. They've had 2 draws.
Pretty dominant.
The 2 are draws. And the one loss is the loss in the final 4 years ago on penalties to Argentina. I hope that's actually what I thought that's what I heard, and like that's ridiculous is what that is. Like that is that kind of blew my mind. I mean, I know they've been great, and I know they won it when Mbappe first arrived on the scene, and I know they were in the. I know all these, but just hearing it in one fell swoop, that's man, that is some jobber there. I don't know. We just played Alex Tuck. Do you have anything to say about Alex Tuck, or do I need to just keep moving? We can just keep moving. It's fine. The size says it all. Houston, that's where we left off with Mike Tenier, the Houston Texans. FTN Football Almanac, formerly the Football Outsiders Almanac. We have, for years, been fans of Aaron Schatz.
Yes.
And had him on, we had him on weekly quite a few years back. Anyway, fan of the work. Houston as the highest projected team. I totally get it on defense. I mean, we saw it firsthand last year when they just took the Bills absolutely apart in a game down there. And funny enough, there's opening day is in Houston, 1:00 game in Houston for the Bills. The quarterback play was so bad in the playoffs that the C.J. Stroud of his rookie year just really feels to me like a very distant memory. And I might be overreacting to some bad games in bad conditions.
No, he stunk.
He stunk, right?
He stunk all year.
Is he going to not stink again?
In fact, Davis Mills came in that Bills game, and their offense looked better than it had in that season leading up to that game. So it's funny. I think the NFL tends to overreact, generally speaking, year in and year out on like the recipe, right, to win a Super Bowl. Everyone's like, well, the Philadelphia Eagles won because they just they were, and so now everyone's like, well, we need pass rushers. Now the pass rushers get overpaid. I think that most teams know they're not going to be able to replicate what the Texans have done defensively, which is they have 2 of the top 5 paid defensive ends in the league. They have a quarterback with a rookie contract right now. They're still, I mean, they leave so much to be desired on offense, both from an offensive line perspective. Now they got, I know, David Montgomery this offseason. I don't know, am I supposed to be fearing them more because of David Montgomery? I
don't think so.
You can't beat yourself. And I think that's what every team, even the Patriots at a certain point during that AFC championship game were doing, which is beating themselves. They were so bad on offense, the Texans, that it didn't matter how much the Patriots beat themselves because they just could not score. So I think that the Bills do have their ear to the ground a little bit and saying, like, we need to be better defensively. That's what the best teams in the AFC are doing right now. They're playing really good defense. But I don't know that right now, like, I know everyone's still hot over Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville got worse this offseason. I don't think they got better. I mean, they lost their best running back, and maybe they'll just, they won't miss a beat. I know, I like ETN. A lot of people, I mean, he got paid in New Orleans. I don't know. A lot of people were very concerned about the draft that they had. That they were going way off the board on some of their selections. The Ravens point that Mike made, I think, an under talked about point is how much they lost this offseason. I don't know, man. Like, I look at the AFC and I say, yeah, Houston, like, they've got the defense, but defense to me, which is why the top 3 teams we've always talked about, and maybe add in the 4th, but because their defense has been so bad, Cincinnati, they have not been able to overcome it. But the top 3 quarterbacks have been who they are, which has been the top 3 teams each and every year, because there is less volatility in having an elite quarterback than having an elite defense without an elite quarterback. And I don't know what happens if, Will Anderson steps wrong and, there goes an ACL, and is that defense as dominant without one of those 2?
Right.
Unbelievable.
Or they have all their guys, but the quarterback is just not, he's just meh. Like,
right.
I don't know. I mean, it's a little, maybe Denver's like similar, right? I mean, Nick's was better than Stroud last year.
Yes, much.
No
I would
question.
say much better, yeah.
But like, is he an elevator? But if he doesn't have to, then maybe it can work. I don't know, man. I don't trust Stroud is really the bottom line. So I have a bet with Mike for the season that the Bengals are going to win more games than the Houston Texans. Because like we alluded to earlier, I think that the Bengal defense it's so easy to just say their defense is terrible, They traded for Dexter Lawrence. Their defense is terrible. Okay. at some point you can stop. Maybe with terrible, is it a question mark? Do we know it's good? No, but I'm more bullish on them than I am the Bengals. I just don't. Stroud to me, I don't think he's got it. Is where I'm at.
I don't think he does either.
So I think that is eventually going to be a problem for them at some point or another, right? But how much do you need from him if that defense is as good as it was last year?
But I think the playoffs showed it. Is eventually you need to score points in the NFL, and for them they don't have to score 30 to win games, but they probably have to score 10
or 18.
Yeah,
right.
I mean they've. You've got to score some points.
They might be. How's this? If they have they have the regular season and they get the 1 seed, and they to me will be a super easy team to pick against in the divisional round when they host their first playoff game. I'll just be laying in the weeds over here going, okay, here we go, elevated competition. Of course, it depends on who they're playing, and if you're the 1 seed, you're obviously going to be playing. You'd expect someone not great, but who knows? It'll be the divisional round. It'll be somebody that won a wild card game. At least there will be that. So yeah, I'm having a hard time with the Houston love, I guess. It reminds me of a after Stroud's rookie year was just assumed they're going to be great, and then that it took them until last year to sort of get back on track. And again, it was all defense.
He looked so far and away better than Bryce Young. Like wow, what a tremendous mistake Carolina made. And now I want to say Bryce is probably past him. Not by a dramatic fashion, but
it's not the blowout it was in Stroud's favor.
And now Bryce Young's got some weapons around him.
Yep. 803-0550 is the phone number if you want to get in on the conversation. We would love to have you. Nate is in for Mike. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR. you been paying attention at all to the photos circulating on the social machines today of the Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup engravings?
I did.
Yeah, I had a bit of a time. I had a bit of a time.
A moment? Would you say a moment?
A moment in an hour. I don't know, 20 minutes. I don't even know. What is time anymore? No, really, I'm asking. What is no? So I saw this. He's got his name engraved on the cup. His name, his wife's name, and is there four children?
Yes. Yeah.
One of whom might not even be in middle school. And everyone's dunking on them because his rep is. Yeah, I mean, he's gutting the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe going to try to move them. Like he's not a very popular figure in American sports culture right now. I guess, even though his hockey team just won the Stanley Cup, but we all hate the Carolina Hurricanes with the power of a million suns anyway. So everyone's just dunking on him for this, and I'm like, oh. Well, you know what? I'm just kind of curious. Let me see what the Florida Panthers have done on the Stanley Cup. So I do a quick Google search. And there it is. Like last year or the year before, they won 2 in a row. So I didn't really differentiate one year from the other. But there's the dad, the wife, and there's 3 kids named. And I just, being me, I got online there, and I had to let everybody know, hey, look, the Florida Panthers did the same thing last year or the year before. And like, were we just mad about something else that day? Like, why didn't? And I very quickly found out that all of those children in the Florida Panthers situation are grown adults and work for the team.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, all right, that works. Whereas this Carolina, so I had to sort of stand. I was trying to be like smart guy, like, hey, you're mad about a thing that you could have been mad about any other year.
But right now you're mad.
But I'm back to like I wish I hadn't decided to be smart guy because it's pathetic that like a preteen kid
is on the Stanley Cup.
Has his name on this or her name. I don't even know if it's a boy or a girl on the Stanley Cup. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you just there are like trainers that didn't get listed. They're like they only have so much room, and he's got like thank God the guy's not a polygamist. I mean, what would have happened then? I mean, wow. You just got to like everybody's got to be on the bus. Get them on there. I don't.
Thank God.
Who cares about Jordan Stahl? I've got 9 other kids I got to write down here. It's brutal. It's someone.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure who. Might have been Ken Campbell, old school hockey reporter, hockey news guy from years ago. Tweeted, next year when they roll out the like. It's so hard to win, and like those really sort of breathless, emotional vignettes that they put out around the cup. They usually almost or actually do make me cry. Like, remember this, okay? Because
right. Look at we tried to tell everybody that we didn't want Carolina to win the cup. Right. So we tried to warn people.
Right. Just pathetic. And a pathetic job by me. I could have Googled the Florida kids' names and found out that they had jobs and that was legit. Brian Mazurowski, hours later, informs me that the Red Wings, the Illiches, had like 9 family members on there. And like, I don't know. I'm not going to go back and search if they all work for the team too. But anyway, there. See, we're segueing into hockey, kind of. Joe Yurden from Bleacher Report coming up after this with Nate Geary and me.
World Cup quarterfinals underway now this afternoon as France is taking on Morocco to introduce the round. Currently a scoreless tie after the first half. Meanwhile, FIFA announcing that England defender Jarrell Quansah is suspended for 2 matches after picking up a red card against Mexico. To hockey, the Anaheim Ducks matched the offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, preventing the Philadelphia Flyers from acquiring the 21-year-old. Carlson's cap hit now $18.5 million per season over the next 5 years for Anaheim. To football, Jacksonville cornerback and receiver Travis Hunter will be a full go at training camp, according to NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe. Hunter had his rookie season cut short in 2025 due to a knee injury. To baseball, a couple of games that finished up earlier today. The Mets beating the Royals 5-2. The Red Sox defeat the White Sox 2-1. Yankees win big over the Rays 12-4, while the Guardians best the Twins 5-2. This update is brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. This is WGR.
It's Mike Schopp. And the Bulldog.
We gotta take a break. More coming up after this.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Don't roll your eyes. That was my audition tape for an NFL pregame show. I'm not kidding. That's what that was. That was us making fun of how they laugh at everything and nothing's funny, but they're just like, oh, you guys.
You know when you can just tell when someone's close to retirement?
This is going to be about me?
Yeah, like when the guy is just kind of lost it a little, like like when Jimmy Johnson, he's on Fox, and you're just like, yeah, he's so close. yeah. Like that's you right now after listening to that open.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable now. Nate Geary's in for Mike. I am the Bulldog. Happy to, we'll just plow right ahead and welcome Joe Yerdon in on the Wester Hotline. Joe from Bleacher Report, long time on the NHL beat and the Sabres as well. Joe, what is up? How are you doing? How's summer treating you so far, man?
I'm really afraid to laugh at anything now. When I'm really afraid.
Don't worry, I'm not funny naturally. So I'm unfunny, and it'll be fine. So don't sweat it.
No, mostly it's been a good summer, and I'm glad we don't have the $20 million offer sheets coming through here in Buffalo, because that would make things way too spicy. But yeah, it's nice and easy this summer.
Is a fireable offense for Pat Verbeek? Like I know they've matched it and they're going to keep going, but like he left himself. Like there's been a lot of reporting. I read a long piece by Greg Wyshynski about them nickel and diming every $10,000 is a battlefield and all this sort of stuff. And coupled with the things that made the rounds right after the offer sheet was signed last week by Leo Carlsson, that he would have signed for like 8 for 9 or whatever it would have been, and now they're at 5 for 18 a year. It's just he left them in a bad spot for Beek.
I think it's and this is all from the outside, and sometimes what you hear from people chit-chatting about stuff around the league and whatnot, but just based on what you see on the outside, you see what happened with Trevor Zegras in Anaheim and how suddenly he was available, and Jamie Drysdale, and like these guys were all like young, upcoming potential star players for Anaheim, and then it was time for their first contract negotiations, and things got very punchy right away, and it was like they're coming out of their ELC, man. Like what's the deal here? Like why is this so? On the outside, I never mind what's going on the inside, but on the outside, it seemed like, why is it? What's the hassle? Like, what's the problem here? And both of those guys end up getting traded to Anaheim, not long after. And you're like, okay, what's the deal? What's happening here? And the only common denominator out of that was the GM. And you're like, is this guy just kind of busting everybody's chops about, like what he thinks a guy coming out of that first contract can make, what they can do, all that. And I think that goes for just about everybody that was a big star player there. Mintyukov was another guy that I think even last year it was kind of like, what's going on? Like, what's the deal here? And, the adjustment period between things being the way it used to be and the way things are headed now changed in their face because of kind of how he was doing things. And, that's, it's not to say that's all on Pat Verbeek's shoulders. Other teams have dealt with this as well, but like, holy smokes, man. Like this went off like a bomb in front of their face. And they're just like, well, we got to kind of eat this.
Yeah.
And, Carlson was Pat's guy. Like that's, he's the number 2 pick. He's a big player. He's a guy that they've kind of built their future around. And, kind of good on Danny Briere to be like, oh yeah, well, how much does he mean to you? Let's see how bad, right. And he did it. Now they got to figure it out after the fact. It's really fascinating, and it's really interesting about, and I get it. It's going to cause, reverberations through the league of how you treat guys coming out of those first contracts and whatnot. And you got to decide right away, like, is this a guy we're going to build around forever? Or is this somebody we're going to push that cart down the road and say, all right, maybe in 2 years we have to re-examine this. But I mean, if guys coming out of those ELCs are saying like, I want $9 million a year right away, boy, oh boy, it changes everything so quickly.
Yeah, man. I mean, I definitely feel that. I mean, I thought they would match. I thought they kind of had to match. Four first-round picks that you might assume will be in the 20s, especially if Carlson is on the Flyers. That's just not – that is not going to get it done. So, but now you've got Carlson, and he's a great piece to build around, and he, maybe he'll hit his ceiling and become, a 90 or 100-point player, but you're paying him double what you could have paid him last year. I mean, it's insane how that happened, and they left themselves like that. Something that, Joe, the Sabres really have been quite proactive about going back. I mean, Kevin Adams certainly had his warts, but the Tage Thompson contract, the Matthias Samuelsson contract, and now you're seeing this Owen Power. You're seeing it be played forward by Jarmo Kekalainen with Zach Benson. You look at the stats.
And
Doan, right. Yeah. You look at the stats and go, Benson had 43 points. What am I doing? But, if you watched him all year and you watched him in the playoffs especially, I think you go, okay, that's probably a 55, 60-point player fully formed. And I've got him under contract for 7 years at 7.5. I think that's job well done.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Even going back to Adams, the Tage contract. I think even at the time when Tage signed, everybody goes, "Boy, that's already a steal." And if he becomes a 40-goal-a-year guy, that is a monster steal. And of course it is. And then the Samuelsson thing, obviously the ups and downs with his career, but if he does what he did last season every year at 4.25,
it's the best contract in the league.
Holy cow, man! That's crazy. And you're looking at all this, and obviously the cost of everything is just going to go up every year. Every year the cap goes up, the cost of everything just goes up with it. But I mean, you look at what happened with Doan. Doan gets the opportunity, gets the playing time, gets that chance to show, here's what I can do. Because, in Arizona, Utah, whatever, he was, playing third, fourth line minutes and, wasn't really getting a lot of specialized usage. And he was younger. He's coming out of Arizona State, which, no offense to Arizona State, not exactly a hockey hotbed school. So, what he does there is kind of, how do you really judge it? Mm-hmm. So you get him into the pros, and you see what he does in the AHL, and you're just like, all right, I don't know what kind of player he is. That's why half the people talking about that trade last year were like, well, he's a throw-in. And it's like, well, he's not, but we don't know what he is yet. And then turns out what he is a 20-goal-a-year, heart of the team type of dude. And you're like, oh, right, okay, well, cool. And in Benson's case, it's he had 43 points, 65 games, I think it was.
Yep. And
you see that, and you're like, okay, it's coming. His game's coming along. And then the playoffs happen, and you're like, oh, all right, okay, well, let's see if we can, my idea was get him at the Doan contract if you can, but if it's like an extra mil, I think you live with it, and that's exactly how it came out. So, things like that, it's just a matter of just reading where things are headed, how things are going, and what a player's projection is going to be. You're not going to throw that money around at just some, regular old guy. I mean, Leo Carlson's a great player. He had a great, glow-up kind of season for Anaheim. And you see the trajectory he's going on. And you're like, okay, we got to pay this guy. We know we have to, but, you got to control it, too. You can't let somebody else dictate your budget. And I think that's where things kind of got out of hand with Anaheim. And you let it get away from you for a year. You're like, well, we'll push that cart down the road. We'll do it next year. How much worse could it be? Now every guy going into that last year of their ELC is going to be having that long conversation with the GM, or maybe they aren't. I don't know. But somebody who's an elite player, they're going to be looking at it in the mirror and going, how much are we going to give to this guy, and how do we expect him to go? Before the playoffs,
we talked about the as much as fun as we were having with the moment and the present, what's the off season? What are the priorities going to be? And Benson's name came up in here, and I said, oh, that's a bridge. It's easy. That's a bridge contract. You're not really sure what his ceiling is yet, and then the playoffs happen, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that
lock him up.
Screw that, right? Yeah. Joe Yurden from Bleacher Report on the Western Hotline with us. So, how about the Sabres? The vibe this week that I've mostly gotten, it started on Monday afternoon when I talked to Wyshynski, is that the kingpin guys that we thought would get moved, really none of them have been moved. That's Larkin, that's Hellebuck, that's Jason Robertson. I don't know that Nyes belongs in that conversation. I guess I wish he would, because I love him very, very much, but almost too much. It hurts, Joe. So might we have a busier July than normal? Because I would think teams are going to, even if they'd be dragged kicking and screaming, are going to want to alleviate situations where guys have asked out.
Part of me thinks it was busy enough, honestly. Teams just kind of took care of the business that was out there, but it still feels like a lot was left on the hook. And, part of that's Robertson, just because that was such a big deal. It will be a big deal. Whenever, if he signs for 1 year, okay. Fast forward to next summer when we're talking about him again as a unrestricted free agent, which would be bonkers. All the Hellebuck stuff from before the draft, during the draft, and afterwards it cooled off. And anywhere I go now, folks are like, "Is this going to get done? Is this happening?" And I'm like, I keep thinking the time to get it done was the draft, just because the draft picks are whatever you want them to be. And when the draft picks are gone, it's like, well, all right, now we're kind of stuck based on the roster. And then you get past July 1st, and now you got no trade protections on guys. And it's like, okay, well, all right, how do you make this work out of that? It's like making something that could have been very easy into something very difficult. And I think that's maybe the spot we're in with some of these other players that were out there allegedly, reported to be available, whatever, what have you. I think we're in a spot where it's a little bit more difficult, because if you're offering roster guys, July 1st kind of changes that. And teams, the NHL is so old school set that everybody wants to get on vacation. Everybody wants to take a couple of months off, because it's a 10-month rigor of day in, day out. Let's just try to get things done and figured out. But I don't know, man. Dylan Larkin's still out there. Jason Robertson will get his stuff figured out. Connor Hellebuck's still in Winnipeg. That, to me, that's a lot of big fish. It's a lot of big fish who are still out there that could get moved. And there's teams that can make that happen. And I just wonder, when those GMs' phones get turned back on after they've spent some time at the cottage.
Marchenko's another name too, Joe, that's kind of been out there for Columbus after the whole Werenski was like, yes, but no. And now I'm dedicated and I'm, moving forward here in Columbus. But, I've never been a huge, I know Joe, Sneaky Joe on the morning show has sort of been, ringing the bell for Hellebuck. I'm not sure that I've ever really been fully on board with them, especially trading young assets or even a roster player or two, which is what it sounds like it was going to take to get Hellebuck. And now I do wonder how much, the Jets maybe have lost a little leverage in this Hellebuck conversation, and Jarmo waiting them out ends up being a nice goal for them, and they end up paying less than they would have at the draft. I don't know. But I guess where I get to, Joe, is, we're hearing guys like, Jack Quinn's name being thrown around, Ryan McLeod's name being thrown around. I do wonder that right now they appear to be, and it sounds like Patrick Kane is a potential. They've got a lot of forwards. I don't know that I'm in the camp, Joe, and now you can tell me if you're in this camp or not, that like I'm going to move a couple of them and one, whether it's Murtka or one of these other young, players you've drafted the last couple of seasons, but I'm kind of still big fish hunting for a legit number one center and or another scoring winger to replace Tuck rather than the goalie. I don't know if that's where you sit, but it feels like they almost can't be done.
I'm of the same mind. I feel like Buffalo isn't done, which is, I feel like the defense is kind of squirreled away. I think that's kind of done. Forward, you've got a lot of guys, and a lot of them are really young. And, a lot of, Lindy, I think the big catch here is that Lindy likes a lot of them. He really likes Noah Ostlund. Who doesn't? I think he really likes Konsta. Who wouldn't? When you've got guys like that, and he speaks very highly of Yuri Kulik, which, hey, if he's ready to play, then cool. Let's go. Let's see what he's got. But it's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys, and you have a lot of kind of questions. And I think the playoffs left you with a lot of questions as well, based on some guys' performances. Maybe it's like Ryan McLeod was a guy where I was like, boy, he would have liked to have seen more from him during the postseason. I think that would have been helpful. In Quinn's case, I think you may be looking ahead to maybe another, what his next contract's going to look like. And, given where things are going, I don't know if I like the future, what that could turn out to be. But I think maybe you have to start, and this is the thing for the GMs, they have to start getting their ducks in a row here, like maybe 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance, start looking ahead to like, what's this, what's a guy going to cost? Where do we see our holes in the lineup developing, and where do we think things are going to go? And I think that's a lot where like Jarmo Kekalain's got to kind of look at things and see where it's headed. And maybe that's why things are kind of in that quiet space where it's a little too quiet,
Yeah. What is your perception of what is the Kane thing right now? Is it wishful thinking based in South Buffalo? Like people start talking there and it just sort of gets I'm not being jerky about it. I mean, he's popular in that part of town. Maybe popular all over town. Like it's an interesting idea. I'm just not sure if it's all not dot connecting, because. Here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about all these forwards, Joe. Like I sat here on free agency day and I did the lines like a little kid would do, and I forgot Ostlund. I didn't have a spot for Ostlund. I mean, I don't want to put him at fourth line center. That seems stupid. So I've got Carrick there, and now what am I doing? So yesterday, I think I stumbled into, okay, if the Hellebuck thing is still percolating. I don't know if I can include Luukkonen in that anymore. I mean, he's now got 5-team no trade. I don't know who those 5 teams are, but I might guess that one of them is Winnipeg. I don't know. So like you've muddied that up. So you get to you just mentioned 2 of the guys, McLeod, Quinn, Murtka, something else for Hellebuck, and now I put Patrick Kane in Quinn's spot, and I put Ostlund in McLeod's spot, and I'm done. There's my team.
Yeah.
All I got to do is make these complete these 2 transactions, one of which I think the Sabres have been working on for a month.
I'll confess something to you right now. What you've penciled out is something that I've had in my head for maybe since this Hellebuck stuff really started kicking into gear. As far as like a foundation of a trade to acquire a guy like Connor Hellebuck, it's my own roster machination sort of ideas. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to move a Quinn, you're going to move in a McLeod, and it's probably not Luukkonen, so you probably have to move Lyon, which then you're investing a lot of money into goaltending at that point. But you're talking about moving out a lot of salary, but also having to probably take out, Hellebuck's $8 million. You probably have to add another bit of salary on top of that, and maybe signing Kane. So I was thinking, like, I don't know, maybe you're asking for Eden's Alex Iafallo to be part of that deal or something like that. Something along those lines where you're just. And again, this isn't based on conversation. This isn't based on any sort of, information from the inside. This is just like
staring at the roster.
This is basically in between. This is like halftime of a Newcastle game at Fatty. This is basically the same conversation. Yes.
This is just so we don't get radioed on this one. So it's so it's everywhere. But
that's correct. That's right.
But it's that's the kind of like the framework where I'm like, maybe that's an idea that that gets the conversation going again. You probably have to give up some prospects. You probably have to give up a big prospect. I can't say multiple prospects.
It's got to be
like
something that's going to hurt, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Not that Murtka wouldn't hurt, but like something that's going to hurt.
Right. And a guy like Murtka would hurt a lot. Like that's a guy you're looking at being a top 4 guy at some point in the future. That maybe that's why you draft Jackson Rudolph. Maybe that's because you're kind of softening the blow to move a guy like Murtka, and then you're just kind of rewinding it like that. But to me, to get a guy like Kane in Buffalo, and I'm sure a lot of that conversation reverberates around Imperial Pizza down in South Buffalo. But like I think the idea is I don't think it's as outrageous as it has been the last couple of summers where he's been available because the Sabres were not a playoff team. They were not. Let's be honest, they were not close to looking like a playoff team, but now it's like, oh, they made it to the second round. They were a whisper away from the conference finals. They're for real. And let's face it, Patrick Kane wants to play in the playoffs again. That's why he went to Detroit. Detroit's been close. Now they don't look like they're that close, especially if they move Dylan Larkin. So if he can come home and it's available and it's open to him, I think he would love that. But, I think we know what Kane's abilities and skills are. Great offensively, great on the power play, great on all that. The rest of it might drive Lindy a little crazy, but I think for what he can do and what he can add to a power play, I think that's something everybody would agree is something that could help the Sabres out too.
So I know you've mentioned Dylan Larkin's name a couple of times since we've had you on, and I think Bulldog and I are both in the same camp. I know a lot of people. I don't think it's even on the table for Dylan Larkin. He's best friends with Jack Eichel, and it just does not appear to me to be something like a move that the Sabres could really swing. So I want to ask you more about just the general situation in Detroit right now and kind of the position that Larkin has put that franchise in because he's got term left. He does not have the same situation, some of these other guys, Werenski, right, where they're a year from, a big payday, and if they're not signing, it's time to, the fire is lit. For me, but if you're moving Larkin and Kane's out the door and DeBrincat is in a position where he's a year away from UFA. So what do you make of Detroit and the position Steve Yzerman's in?
It's messy. Messy.
Maybe they missed their window, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And, honestly, they've had such bad runs at the end of the season the last 2-3 years where, you're 2 months out from the end of the season, you're thinking like, oh, Detroit's back. They're going to get there. And then just the wheels completely come off. And, it happened again last season. It's happened to him every year now for like I'm saying, like 3 years. And in Larkin's case, I think, the Olympic success and then just being like, man, I don't like where this is headed. This is, it's going to be the same stuff every year. Get me out of here. I think in his case, like limiting it to just a couple of teams makes it really hard to get out of there. And listen, I know you want to control your destiny, and you can do that to a degree, but boy, oh boy, man, to just be like, yeah, Minnesota or Vegas, that's it. Two capped out teams that have lots of guys on no moves. Good luck, dude. Yeah. And I think Yzerman, listen, Yzerman's not a guy I would want to be on the wrong side of, based on his playing career and how intimidating he can be. To draw a line with a guy like that who has to feel pretty emboldened at his position as an executive with the team where his number's hanging in the rafters, I have to imagine him saying well, we're not going to move him if we don't have to, which is a heck of a thing to say for a guy that's like, yeah, get me out of here. it's a really bad spot for Dylan because you're looking at a guy who's probably going to get the C ripped off his chest and might get booed opening night in Detroit. And if I'm him, I don't like that at all, honestly. But like, what's he going to do? He can't hold out. He can't do any of that. So, I mean, if he doesn't show up, I mean, you're gonna get fined every day. And then I don't know if I'm Vegas or Minnesota, I'm like, well, I guess he wants to come here, but like, do I want him? I don't know.
The 5 years is the thing. Like I wonder. Like I'm sure he got advice ahead of time. It's not something that you would have done willy nilly here. Just like I'm going to just tell him I want out, or I'm going to leak it, or whatever. But I'm just imagining him and his agent sitting on a dock somewhere in Ontario, enjoying a sunset, and his agent just. Dude, you got 5 years. I'm sorry.
Maybe we broaden this to 5 teams.
So much I can do. He did add Dallas today.
He did add Dallas.
So let's give him some credit. I mean, at least he did that. So generous.
It's crazy to add Dallas because it's like, hey, man, we just cleared a lot of space to sign our other superstar guy for like $15 million a year.
Right,
so like,
right.
I don't know if we got the room for you here, pal. To me, it's the kind of thing where you almost, I think if I'm in Eiserman's spot, I'm like, well, how desperate do you want to be? Are you desperate enough that you want us to mutually agree to nullify a massive contract, cost yourself all these millions of dollars, and then you sign for dirt cheap with one of these teams, and then hope that maybe you go to the playoffs, win a Stanley Cup, whatever. Like,
that's not happening, right?
That's never happened. You'd never throw away, like, what, 30, 35, 40 million, like, whatever. I forget what his contract is, but, like, that's a ton of money. You're not throwing away. We're not talking Patrick Berglund going to Sweden and saying, forget it, I'm never coming back.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy that wants to play somewhere else in the same league the next season with the same money.
All right, Joe. Well, let's all cross our fingers and toes and hope for some more news, which would mean more reason to call you again. Because
I'm all for it.
Thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm glad we didn't have to pull you away from soccer like we did so rudely the last time you were on with us. And by the way, if you're probably watching while you're talking to us. And Mbappe just scored an incredible goal to put France up. You're not taping this and watching later, are you, Joe?
No, I'm not a lunatic. No, I would not.
Sorry, I was 99% kidding, but I just wanted to make sure. Anyway, thanks a lot for the time, man. Appreciate it. Joe Yerdon from sorry, it just sounded like he was speaking there and we hung up on him.
You know, it's funny though, you make that joke. My grandfather recorded every single Yankee game. Every one. And then watched them. I don't know why. You just wouldn't watch it live.
Later.
I mean, a lot of those games are night games.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was just for the next day. But it would be like we would come over and the first thing he would say is, "Don't tell me about the Yankees game." And I would say, like, Gramps, I hate the Yankees. Yeah. I wouldn't know what the score of the Yankees game is. But you know that it's a different time. Again, you've never seemed closer to retirement. So
it hurts. It's just as simple as that. This Mbappe, it was fantastic.
It was
France is
sexy.
Up 1-0 on Morocco in the 63rd minute. Of their quarterfinal matchup.
It did look like a handball just before. And Morocco was not happy. Like the change of possession, it
okay, I did not
you
catch
were
that.
You were in the process of asking a very thought-provoking question. I was watching soccer when that happened. So,
well, we're a good team.
Yeah, truly.
Nate Geary's in for Mike. I am the Bulldog. 803-0550 is the number. We'll be back right after this on WGR.
World Cup quarterfinals getting underway this afternoon as France is taking on Morocco. Kylian Mbappe has a goal for France, the first of two, as the French lead 2-0 as we're heading toward the 70th minute of the contest. Meanwhile, FIFA announcing that England defender Jarell Quansah is suspended for 2 matches after picking up a red card against Mexico. To hockey, the Anaheim Ducks matching the offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, preventing the Flyers from acquiring the 21-year-old. Carlson's cap hit now $18.5 million per season over the next 5 years. To football, Jacksonville cornerback and receiver Travis Hunter will be a full go at training camp, according to NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe. Hunter had his rookie season cut short in 2025 with a knee injury. Baseball games that had happened earlier on today, the Mets beating the Royals 5-2, Red Sox defeat the White Sox 2-1, Yankees winning big over the Rays 12-4, while the Guardians best the Twins 5-2. Those are your sports headlines, brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
But I'm a worry there. And the other red flag is, the Bears seem to be ascending, and part of their ascendance was, we don't need DJ Moore anymore. This is a team that should be like, hey, we're all in, and instead of like, hey, we're going to make this guy available. I don't think he's the Stephon Diggs you're seeking. I think he's going to help, but this is going to be another year of Bills receiver by committee, and that's okay. But we keep seeing Bills receiver by committee with Joe Brady in charge of it. We keep seeing this, and we keep seeing it not being the thing that launches Josh Allen to the stratosphere, so to speak. So I think he helps. I think he's a good addition. I think there needs to be more at wide receiver.
Can I interest you in a gently used Brandon Cooks? How's that for an idea? It's Mike Tenier from earlier today with us talking about the Bills wide receiver room. Did you see Graham's piece in The Athletic today on Brandon Cooks?
Yes, would like to. I did also see a thing that he still thinks it was a catch.
Yeah.
You're into that sort of thing. But yeah,
there's
he would like to. He enjoyed his time in Buffalo. Would like to be
There's
back.
still a lot of that out there. People that I consider completely level-headed, reasonable, normal friends.
That you've lost to the catch.
I wouldn't say. I don't let something like that divide us, Nate.
Good.
I'm a unifier.
I have known that about you. That's one thing. So when I first met you, I'm pretty sure you introduced yourself as the unifier to me, which at the time was weird, but now makes a lot of sense.
So tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
Well, listen, you got one more day.
803-550 is the number. I'm just kidding around anyway. I thought it was sort of embarrassing for a contending level team to have their last 2 passes of the season intended for Mecole Hardman and Brandon Cooks.
You said it, pal.
But huge huge, all caps, 2 T's. But I think I would given the state of their room, I would entertain Brandon Cooks. I thought, what was really interesting about, I mentioned this piece, Tim Graham from The Athletic, a longtime friend of mine, and he's been in this chair that I'm sitting in for a while now, co-hosting with Brad Ryder before our show. In the piece that he talked to Brandon Cooks for, Cooks said, I want to get signed and I want to be in camp. Camp is where you build the calluses.
Yeah.
Without having read that, I might have sat here and said, he wants to sign, but he's going to wait until mid-August.
Because that's kind of what they.
That's what a receiver. That's what any player in that position. But receivers, it feels like there's a guy or two every year that does that. But he's saying no. I want the full. I want the full thing. I want to come for camp, and I want to start there, and we'll see, man. I think
I don't know what it would take, but it kind of feels like it would be either him or Josh Palmer.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say is when we've talked with Sal about this, maybe it's unlikely that it happens before camp because Sal's scenario is basically they get into it and it's, Josh Palmer's working on the side because of a soft tissue problem and whatever. Oh, he's back. Oh, he's out again. And if we get a couple of rounds of that, early enough in camp,
pull the plug.
That's when they just go, you know what? We're not doing this again. Let's just move on, and we got a guy. But, there's no reason you couldn't bring him in ahead of time. I mean, it's the NFL. There should be competition there. So
would agree.
Not that big a deal. And I'm sure would be, easy for me to say, a pretty modest commitment, right? So even if it doesn't work out, I don't think you'd be, pinned underneath anything.
I'm not super surprised he's unsigned. Tanier talked about it earlier, the state of the Bills wide receiver room. Having a street free agent that got cut from a team that wasn't good coming in and basically taking over as your team's number one receiver is not usually a good sign of the state of your receiver room. But I think you look at the players that left this roster, and all of them are free. All of them are still available for the most part. It's definitely a point to be made about how good they might or might not have actually been and how much Josh Allen covers up. But I think you could say the same thing about Kansas City. You could say the same thing about, Kansas City's not that good of a team without the best quarterback in the league. And shocker.
Go figure.
Right. Yeah. And the Ravens, same thing. They're not a playoff team when Lamar Jackson's injured. But I don't know, man. I would agree with you. I think if you've got a worry about Josh Palmer, which I think how could you not, get him in here for training camp, and honestly, I don't think it could hurt to have another guy that Josh throws the ball deep to, because I think we all want more of it.
Right, exactly. 803-0550 is the number. France scored a second goal during the commercial break we were in there. So 76th minute now, up 2-0 on Morocco. So I don't want to say lights out. We've seen some late game drama during the World Cup. So,
a little different team, though. A little different animal.
France is
a little different animal.
Machine. Anyway, 803-0550. Greg is first up this segment. Hi, Greg. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing, man.
Yeah. So I guess as I've been following all of the Hellebuck trade talk, I think there's just some emotions that are behind it. And you guys even, I guess I think of it as kind of like a big fish kind of anxiety or feeling that I have when it comes to anything of stature coming to Buffalo sports. And and you talked about it just now with wide receivers, back in January, February, March, there was a lot of talk around Justin Jefferson as a wide receiver trade target. It didn't turn into anything, of course, but I think with Hellebuck, it's something where I always think about after, the Game 7 loss against Montreal, or after every Chiefs loss in January, we're all pacing nervously in our kitchen or our living room, and we dread going to the grocery store because we have to see all the sadness and everything. It's whenever we have off seasons like this, I'm just oh man, it makes me so anxious because all the talk, all the chatter, it just makes me want it even more. So I don't have to go back to those 24 hours, 48 hours after another big playoff loss. Are you guys feeling the same way? It could just be me. I don't know. But it's just a lot of emotions, I guess, in this off season where you're so close. And now we have a second team that is just like the Bills that it is just great to see, but also you want it even more for a big swing.
Yeah, I definitely feel that if I'm interpreting what you're asking correctly, do I find myself wanting Connor Hellebuck more as time goes by? The answer is absolutely yes. I didn't really
Is it though because of your wanting something?
Yes. No, that's
and
it.
And he seems like the closest thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the first time we would have talked about, did you hear Hellebuck left the sort of, sounds like he's rattling cages a little bit in Winnipeg. He might not want to be there anymore. Nope, he's 34. Yep. He's a goalie.
Yep.
No, you're going to go trade for Matthew Nyes. Go trade for Jason Robertson. Go trade for Robert Thomas. Go trade for Jordan Kyrou. Any name you want that wasn't a goalie. I'm right there with no, I'm going to make that trade. And then none of that stuff materializes, and we keep hearing about Hellebuck, and I end up wanting something almost. Well, something I didn't want, I end up wanting. And that is not a healthy process. I totally recognize that. So if that's what the caller is sort of suggesting, that they're close, they were good, You've seen the offseason kind of – it hasn't gone yet, but it's come and almost gone. It often at this time of the year feels like it's gone, but as we've been talking about all week, there's still these big fish out there, including Hellebuck, so maybe there's still going to be action. Yeah, I want something. I want some evidence that you are going to improve the team. Because I do not think, sight unseen, Hellenius in Tuck's spot improves the team.
And I don't want to get into the same, we talked about this Tuesday, I just don't want to be in the mindset that Brandon Beane had, which is like, and not even to say that I need them to trade their next 4 first-round picks or anything like that. But I guess I want to feel like their goal is to win a Stanley Cup. And right now, I felt like they needed to be a little better than they were last year to win a Stanley Cup, and they might be just a hair marginally worse.
Right.
Or at least less known than what I feel like you got to learn about what the team was last year. I just think a move needs to be made.
Yeah.
A move needs to be made.
Thank you very much for the call. I like the question.
I would trade 4 first-round picks.
Assuming I interpreted it correctly. I think I did. Anyway, thank you for that. He's Nate Geary. I am the Bulldog, and we'll be back for more right after this on WGR. Has it said Massachusetts at midfield
Yes.
the whole time this game has been on?
Yep.
I've watched a lot of World Cup. I'm sure I've seen World Cup from Foxborough. And it's the first time I've noticed it saying Massachusetts.
I've found it funny that, they don't say any of the stadium names.
Well, right. Yeah.
And when I was in Atlanta last month, and I was walking past the stadium, and I saw them out there actively
trying to cover
covering
up the giant Mercedes-Benz
with
logo.
a tablecloth.
Right.
Which is really God, we cannot have. But I thought it was funny.
Ahead of the tournament, months ahead of the tournament, I read about how they were going to have to do that. None of the stadiums, New York Stadium, whatever, all that. The one and covering up all the corporate signage, all the names. Yeah. The one that they said they might have to leave alone was that one because it's so massive on the outside of the stadium that there's just
they had a crew
actively working to
rigging up. It looked like black tablecloth. It's really what it looked like.
Well, first time I've seen Matt. So is this Boston Stadium? They've been calling this?
Yeah, live Boston.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you still kind of? How wound up are you about the U.S. men? It's been a long week.
It has on
the mean social media streets.
Pulisic has been just getting battery rammed, and I think most of it is probably fair and deserved. Yeah. Some of it's a little overboard, but today comes out that he's got a bone bruise and a micro fracture, which sounds a micro fracture. Seems really specific to me. Like someone was really, it's a bruise, but we could refer to it as a microfracture if you prefer.
Can we get away with that?
Could we get microfracture out of this? Like when it's sprained ankle. Well, technically, a sprained ankle is a microfracture. So, yeah, I think maybe the doctors were doing a little wordplay there because it felt like maybe he felt like he needed a PR win. Which is why I think everybody, have you heard about anyone else's injuries throughout the entire World Cup?
Well, as everyone has taken their turns kicking the crap out of him, let me just ask you, have you read or heard anybody complaining about how he appeared when he left the game?
No, but I noticed it right away.
Yeah.
It was like...
you were losing.
Yeah.
And it looked bleak, but dude.
Yeah. All of it.
Yeah,
and I told you
that was the thing for me that annoyed me maybe more than anything else that happened in the game.
Body language.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told you Landon Donovan was kind of listen, dude, I've been you. All of your people are jerks. When we're there, the old guys, all the other players, they come up to us, they shake their hand. He's like, I don't think Pulisic likes me at all. And he's, free to do that and not like me. But he's like, and in fairness, in the criticism, he was like, I'm not sitting here pretending like we are some great untouchable.
That we did something that he couldn't do. Right.
We've all been in your position. We've all had the same shortcoming. And he just feels like his people are jerks, like the people he surrounds himself, his agents, his helpers, his whatever they are.
Enablers.
Yeah, and he's just like, this could be a really important moment in his career. You could go to one of two ways, right? You could decide you don't want to play for the U.S. anymore because you don't want to be the face of it. And I think he's not good enough to be the face of a team anyways. He's a really good number 3 in Germany.
Yeah.
Really good.
But is he not the best guy they've got?
Kind of.
Yeah. See, that makes it it's
tougher.
That makes it tough. It makes it tough. All right.
Makes it tough.
France continues to lead. We're into the 90th minute now. 2-0. There, I said nil like the soccer guy. Over Morocco.
I did that earlier.
All right. We'll hit up a timeout. He's Nate Geary. I'm the Bulldog. Mike Tanier right after this on WGR.